Hello and welcome to the Making It podcast for episode 42. Wherever you get your podcasts is something that we're going to be saying a bit more now because I am going to be looking to try and expand onto more platforms and make it a bit more available. Just a little expansion note to start the episode there for you. But welcome back. It's good to be back. It's Monday night where I am. Dan, it's Monday morning for you at the moment, Monday lunchtime. How's things?
Monday midday. No, it's good. Good things are good. My legs are achy, but I'm feeling good. Obviously, I had the York Marathon yesterday, which was a really good day. Ran it with my auntie. It was her first marathon. She smashed it. To be honest, like we went the whole way without stopping. We did it in 4 hours 2 minutes. We started steady, ended strong, which was the game plan. It was really good seeing all the family there. Saw Scarlett, mum, dad, and brother at about a mile in. Then we saw my granddad and his partner at 10 miles in, and then saw everyone else at about 18 miles, and then we pushed on to the end and we saw everyone. And we were actually running towards the end and all those guys were screaming at us, but we didn't hear them. And then we got to the end, bit of a humbling walk home in the rain, or to the car. And then we all went to Ask Italian for a meal, all the family. So it was a lovely day, and very proud of my auntie. Very good achievement, and we did a really good job. So days like that are really good. But now I'm looking forward to taking a bit of a step back from marathon running. That's now 3 marathons in just over a year. So just gonna get myself in the gym, get the muscles back, and recover for a while now. Maybe playing a bit more football. But no, things are really good. I had a good week last week, a very good week. I think on the note of what you said last week about reducing to regenerate, I really took that on board last week. So I'm looking forward to getting into that. But how are you, brother? How's your week been?
No, man, congratulations, and congratulations to your auntie as well, because I remember when you did the first marathon of the year and I was like, geez, man, like one marathon, it's just like, that's nuts, man. Like I do want to do a marathon. So I think you're an inspiration for that. And I am trying to get on the running grind, as you know. So
You've been on it. You've been doing well.
3 days with a run. I'm running 2 miles a day right now. I'm going to try and up it. But no, man, congratulations, bro. It's an incredible achievement. So
Thank you,
I
man.
know you're trying to be David Goggins now. So get on the Ironman. He's going to be on the Ironmans next. But no, all good, bro. I had a very, very shaky end to last week. I'll be honest. In fact, I had a very shaky end. Yeah, probably Wednesday and Thursday. Really, really struggled. I got my paycheck through and I realized that I didn't have a tax number attached. I got taxed at the highest rate and like I was already tight with money. So I was like, oh God, like it's an extra $100 off what I needed to live. So I was like, situation's kind of poo. But I had a really good Friday, despite smashing my phone screen and getting caught in a hailstorm. I just powered through it, went home. I had a really, really quiet weekend. Just did some bits on my laptop. Obviously watched a bit of football. Hate the sport, to be honest with you. And went for a run. So I've been really just kind of focused on trying to just rest, the weekend. Because I feel like I've put a lot of pressure on myself in my first week at work. And that first day I was at work was really fun, when I made the first sale, and that was great. But then obviously reality hits that not every day is like that. So how do you cope? So the reality of having a job and having responsibilities and having things has hit me this week. But once I got past Wednesday and Thursday and I just, ride the wave a bit, I was fine. So feel loads better. Like I say, I'm trying to run as much as I can when time allows it. So yeah, feeling good, bro. I'm starting the gym next week. I've got a clear plan of what I want to achieve every week. And I'm saving money for Halloween because obviously it's Halloween. You want to go out and have a bit of fun. So just trying to relax, get ready for the next week and just try and have a good week at work this week. So yeah, man.
Awesome, brother. I think your sales job's going to be very up and down. I think obviously last week it was quite excitable. the dog story, and obviously, of course, it is. It's a new job, it's exciting, but like you say, reality hits, and it's like, okay, you've actually got to find ways that work for you in terms of making sales, and it's not an easy job because, first of all, it's trying to get money out of people, which isn't an easy thing to do, but it's also, it's a completely new environment for you. So I think just like what you said to me, there's going to be slopes. There's going to be times where things are going a bit on the downer, and sometimes they're a bit on the upper. So I think just maybe have that image in your mind while you're doing sales, especially with the amount of rejections you get. But no, I think the reduce to regenerate thing ties into that as well. And I think I'm really glad you said that the other week. It's really been sticking with me. And I went to a cafe the other week unexpectedly with a friend of mine on my course called Yusuf. Very ambitious guy, very ambitious. He's got himself a placement at the uni. He's assisting Sean, who's a coach with the Freeze, at the uni. So he's got a good opportunity there. He's been coaching with NU Foundation. He played for Middlesbrough from 12 till 18, but unfortunately, due to injury, couldn't progress. So he now has an ambition, as he told me, of winning the Premier League with Middlesbrough. So all the best to him with that. But I was talking to him about this, and when I mentioned reduce to regenerate, he noted it down on his phone, and he said he's a very relentless person. He's always thinking about coaching. He's always thinking about the next thing, like we've spoke about often. And it's something I wanted to bring up because it's like I don't think being relentless is an issue. I think, in fact, it's a superpower. I think those in this world who are relentless and have a goal and have a drive and have an ambition are very fortunate to have that and should make the most of that. But then there's that side of it, which we all know, where that can get a little bit too much, where it actually becomes a bit unhealthy and you're no longer being your full self and you're not being able to put the energy into that superpower just as much. So I mentioned reduce to regenerate to him, and it's something maybe he could take on board. But I know I've been taking it on board in the way of not everything needs to be done now, taking things a bit more steady, especially when it comes to decision making. So this week, Michael, head of football, has given me an opportunity to coach some women's on a Friday evening. So I've took on the opportunity. But when he first told me about it, I wasn't in a rush to tell him the answer. I said, "Can I just have a sleep on it and I'll tell you in the morning?" He said, "That's perfectly fine." And it made me realise you don't always need to let people know or give people answers straight away. You can give yourself some time to make decisions, reduce to regenerate. But I wanted to ask you that question: can someone be too relentless?
Yes, because it's about energy, right? It's about energy. You can be too relentless to the point where your relentlessness accounts for nothing but self-harm, in my opinion. Because you see, the problem is with the modern day, Dan, is, and I'm noticing it a lot, and it's kind of one of the points I wanted to make. Social media is changing our perspective on everything. Phones are changing our perspective on everything. You are bombarded with clips of people saying, "This is how I became an entrepreneur. This is how I became a boss. This is how I became the best in the world. This is how this." And you're like, wow, I should just follow this method and I should just be relentless and just throw myself in there and just go for it. And it's like, but like I said when we did that episode in Newcastle, I think was it The Onion?
The Onion, yes.
The Onion. One thing I said was, you are not on a level playing field with anybody but yourself. So these people shouting at you down a screen on the internet saying you need to be relentless, you need to be a killer, like you need to go for it. These guys weren't on the same level playing field as you. Maybe they had it worse. So maybe they've got a point in what they're saying. But what I'm trying to get at here is that we're all different. Maybe the process that they're saying works for them, maybe not for you. So be relentless, but look after yourself. Sometimes you can be too relentless, and by that I mean working yourself into the ground. I've noticed one thing: when I love something, or when I really don't want to fail at something, my mind goes into a mode of like locked in. My whole personality can just change, and it has since I got this job. I'm running. Since I got this job, I'm noting down things in calendars. I'm doing journals every day. Again, it's something that I didn't do for about a month, and I've now got back into it. I've got post-it notes. I'm setting timers. I'm setting things. I'm doing things. I'm reading every single day. I'm reading for half an hour or whatever, and one thing I will say is that when you love something and, you I'm kind of losing myself, but you just want to throw everything at it. And I get it. But that's also the danger. And it's one thing that RJ, who I was working with the other day, said to me when I was in the car. I just said, I'm going to really practice this week. I'm going to practice my pitch. I'm going to practice what I do. I'm going to throw all my effort into it this weekend. And he's like, just chill. And on Sunday night, read your stuff, go to bed and relax. Enjoy your weekend. And that is what it's all about. That is what it's all about. You do need to rest and you do need to enjoy your own time, because then you actually get the best out of yourself. So this Saturday and Sunday, I've not really done a lot. I've been shopping, I've cooked, I've made prep meals, I've been reading. I had a meeting at work today, I had a run. Like, I'm doing things that make me feel good. I'm not really spending any money either, Dan, to tell you the truth. So I've been doing things that are good for me. I'm budgeting well, but I realized that being relentless and being obsessed and being so desperate for an outcome not to go against me was becoming a bit unhealthy. And I'm forgetting certain things, like how much sleep I'm getting, how much time I'm spending on my phone. I just need to relax a bit and trust the process, because the numbers and things like that, they don't lie about, how this job works and stuff. So I just need to trust it.
There's a reason why we see successful people try to spread awareness about things like this. I think about Stephen Bartlett, very busy person, lots of businesses. You could probably argue the most successful podcast in the country, with Diary of a CEO, and he still advocates the fact that health is his basis. He makes sure he looks after his health, and I think it's so easy to do. There's times where I could go maybe a couple hours longer than I should without having my lunch, just because I want to get something done or quickly get a few things done. And like I said to you before, it becomes a bit like your life gets a bit regimented. There's no freedom. In fact, there's actually sometimes not a lot of ability to get bored, because you're filling yourself up so much with things to do. And often boredom is what we need in the modern day, because often we don't have a lot of it. Because when people get bored these days, like you say, it's going on the social media. But I did see someone make a post about this the other day. Shout out mental health awareness. They're on Instagram. And he mentioned how, like you say, you go on your phone and someone's telling you about the next health benefit. Someone's telling you about the next best running trainer, or the next thing you should be doing, or you should be going gym 5 times a week, or you should be doing this to better yourself. And we're all different. We all have different ways of going about things. But as soon as we see all these things, we start to question ourselves. And it's almost like we're always not doing enough in this world. And we need to learn that we are. And and it ties into that same word. And I know I bring it up a lot, but it's because that's what it is: presence. And I think about when I ran that marathon yesterday. You've got such a big goal ahead of you. You got to run 26.2 miles. At any moment where I started to think about the bigger picture, about how long was left, I struggled. But at any moment where I just looked around me, looked at the trees, saw how my auntie was getting on, looked at the people around me, looked out for people in the crowd, even just looked down at my feet, because, be where your feet are at. I realized things were a lot easier. Okay, where am I going next? Yes, I've got 26.2 miles to run, but I'm currently at 18. I want to get to 19. Then when I get to 19, I want to get to 20. And when you're running, they've got these big mile signs when you get to each mile. So I was just visualizing each one and getting to the next one. And before you know it, it goes quicker than you think. And I think sometimes we've got to look at life a bit like that. Let's look at me and you, two young 20-year-old lads. We've got a long way to go in our life. But we can get so fixated on that bigger picture, what's happening next week, what's happening tomorrow. We forget about what's happening right now. And in the modern world, where we're constantly looking at our phones and nothing's ever enough, we're always thinking about the next thing. And I think just as people, we need to really concentrate on what's happening right in front of us, what's going on right now. And I said that to the lads who I've started coaching. We had our first game last week. We won 8-0. Really good result to begin with. It's about pushing on now and building on from that. But I said before the game, I got them all to to introduce themselves in the changing room. But I said to them, today is the first day of an opportunity for all of you. I want everyone in this room to look back at this year as being a great year of enjoyment, of everything. This is the first day of an opportunity to make the most of that, to be able to look at this period of time and say, you know what, I really enjoyed that. And I think there's so many things in life where we look back, even you in Australia right now, like, yes, there's a lot of struggles that you've got, but like we spoke about, that's part of the journey. That's part of it. One day you're going to look back on this period of time in Australia and go, wow, that was some period of my life. But because you're in it right now, you can't see that perspective. So it's about understanding what you enjoy out there and making the most of all of it. And I just think, like you're speaking about, in the modern world, we're all escaping presence. And I think it's just important about being present and making the most of everything. I think it will make a lot of people a lot more happier.
I agree, mate. And I think that it's one thing I've just not done enough since I've been out here is be more present. There's been some days where I have, when I'm spending time with good people, you know, um, you know, but sometimes it's hard. Sometimes it's hard,
It is. It's very hard.
with how things were when I was in Byron. It was hard not to think of the bigger picture, because for me, Sydney was just this getaway. It was this golden egg of like, that's your escape from this little town, this little place that you're in,
How
and
do you
this.
feel now you're in Sydney?
I feel great. This is one thing I've said. I don't live in a house as nice as where I was living. I don't have anywhere near as much money. I have way less money. I've got basically nothing. I've got nowhere near as much food. I haven't got a big garden. I don't have any footballs to play with. I don't have many friends. But I've never been more happy. Why is that? Why is that? One thing I've been mentioning a lot when I talk to anyone at work in a meeting perspective is about environment. The reason I think that despite having a bad week last week, I think this week will be good and next week will be good, and I'll put it behind me because the environment's good. The people are good. I feel comfortable. I feel safe. I feel challenged and I feel pressure. But that's me. And your environment is everything. The people you surround yourself with is everything. If you wake up in the morning and don't feel like you can tell your friends your secrets, or you can tell your friends how you're honestly feeling, then your environment needs to change. No matter how good you think these people are in your life, if you can't wake up in the morning and tell the people that you're around the things you really want to talk about because you're too scared of their opinion, they are the wrong people to be around. Guaranteed. So since I've moved here, it's been just me and Deck. Now, obviously, that's expanded into workmates. We met a random guy, me and Deck, on the train the other day. Came and sat with us. He works in a bar. We got talking to him, and he knows a few people, so that's a connection. One thing I want to do is connect with people, and I think that is my goal, is to really experience this city and this country for what it is now. I've got that opportunity. I'm not pinned into this toxic environment anymore. I'm in a really, really great and unique position. And yeah, Dan, I'll be honest, like, there was one point last week where I think I probably had like 20 quid to get me through. And I had nothing, but my savings have lasted. I've been to WA, I've been to all these great places, I've done loads of stuff, I've eaten out most nights for the last 5 months. And now I've got not a lot left, but I'm going to swear, fuck it. Who cares? I said to myself on Wednesday and Thursday when I was feeling shit, on Thursday, I was like, God, I'm broke. I've got nothing. I'm broke on Thursday and I've got a week till I'm paid. Jeez. And then I was like, but I'm never going to be broke in Sydney again. I'm never going to be broke in Sydney again. Or I'd hope not, if I ever come back. What, like, you know what I mean? Like, I've got to, as horrible and as shit as this moment is, I wake up every morning And my view is Sydney city centre. And if I want my view to be, it's the Harbour Bridge every day. My life's not fucking hard. Just my situation at the moment is a bit difficult and it's a bit uncomfortable. That's it. So I'm challenging myself to be a bit more present and a bit more, enjoying of the situation as tough as it is, And one thing I will say is, and that I've noted it down, is the 1 week that Dan hasn't noted stuff down to say on the podcast is the week that I note stuff down to say. So that what can you say about that? But I would say that I've been missing home a lot this week because it has been 5 months since I came here.
Mental.
We're approaching the 6-month mark. Which is insane because I was once upon a time questioning whether I'd make it that far. So I'm proud of myself, in that respect. But I am missing home a bit. I'm missing my people. I'm missing the weather, weirdly. It's been hot today. It's been like 37 today. But, it's the one thing I really like about this podcast. And I'm liking that some of our friends are starting to listen in. I even caught Deck listening yesterday in his room, and he said, I'm not a podcast person, but he was sitting there playing his game, and I went, what are you listening to? He's like, I'm not gonna lie to you, mate, I'm listening to the podcast. And it's like, some people, Dan, they might see their mates' projects and just go, that's, you know what I mean? Like, I'll support it because it's my mate, but not really that arsed. But honestly, I think that we should support our friends and take a real interest in what they're doing. Because I think this podcast serves a good purpose, and a lot of what we talk about is very, very relevant to all of us. So this has been a very important part of my life this year. We're 80% of the way through the year now. And I feel like nearly every problem that I've had and every issue that I've faced, this podcast has helped me deal with it.
No, it's when you hear stories like that, it's really good. And there's quite a few people I know who, like people like Johnny Day, who listen to it regularly still. And my friend Yusuf said he was in the gym the other day and he was listening to it. I think it's really good, and I think there are people who are listening right now that know they tune in very regularly. And shout out those people because that's what we do it for. And if there's any time where you feel like it's been a benefit for you, you can always shoot one of us a message or put a comment down below. But if you don't want to, then it's great that we can still make that impact. And I think that's what it's all about. I think there's a lot of things out there. We had a comment the other day on our Instagram, and it was someone saying, "Oh, we all know this. Like, what's the point?" And then I think your mate Sid, it was your mate Sid, he put a comment saying there's a lot of people wanting to hear this stuff right now. And it's so cool seeing people support you like that, backing you up. And it's something we should all take on a bit more, back up your friends. Sometimes I think maybe when someone starts something, people are quite negative to start off with. It's like someone starts something new, it's like someone's like a bit of a reflection of themselves because it's like, and I'm not just talking about our podcast, I'm talking about in general, when a friend starts something, it's like, oh, they're doing something a bit different. I'm still not really doing anything like that. And it's like people can often, they're so in their own heads and bothered about what they're doing. They're not actually thinking, oh, damn, like our friend's actually doing something pretty cool here in any situation that is. And I think supporting other people, and this is actually something I'm glad it's just come to my mind right now. Me and Yusuf were talking about it, and he said to me, what's really cool about having a coffee with you right now, Dan, is I feel like you're a very genuine person. And the person who I was listening to on the podcast is the person who I'm sat next to right now. And we got talking a little bit, and we were talking about what makes a genuine person. Why are some people genuine and some people aren't? And what I put my finger on was I think some people just don't care enough. I think some people genuinely just care more about themselves. And some people are quite insecure and have an ego, so they're more bothered about making themselves look good, and they're quite happy when someone else doesn't. And I think it is about caring. I think you've got to care about people, even someone you've never really met. Have a care for them. We're all in the same world. We're all trying to do something. And it's a very interesting one. Why do you think that some people are genuine and some people aren't? Because you would think everyone should be genuine, but that's not the world.
Well, first of all, what is genuine to you, Dan? Because I can guarantee you everyone's description of that is not the same.
Genuine to me is when you're talking to someone, they actually care about what you're saying, they listen to what you're saying, and essentially they give a shit. That's what I think a genuine person is. What about you?
And Dan, you genuinely just swore on the podcast. Congratulations, mate. It's been a generation since we heard this guy swear. Wasn't I in my grandma's kitchen the last time you swore?
Yeah, yeah.
I remember. So, well done, Dan. Swearing's good, and I'll stick by it. So I would say that being genuine is someone that is aware of other people's issues and situations and is genuinely empathetic towards them, and someone who you don't need to help. I don't think there needs to be an after action. I think there needs to be an intention. So I think that being genuine isn't about the action, it's about the intention. And I think the intention is to listen and support someone. Just to be someone that they can trust to not judge or to over examine, just to listen. And also to be authentically themselves, right? I can guarantee you that I am not exactly how I am on this, because I've got way more energy in person. So,
Why?
because I'm talking to you over a screen, Dan. This is the one thing that I would love to change about this podcast, is that we do it more in person, but obviously we can't.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
that is the one thing I will say, is that I am different in person because I've got more energy, and it's better to talk in person than through a screen, always. But the reason I think people aren't genuine is because I think we've actually lost the art of person-to-person communication. I actually have heard people say, when we go for a coffee, they'll make some slur, or they'll make some like comment. And you know the kind of comments I'm saying. I don't need to say them on here because I don't think it's fair to say them. But people don't really understand, because they're stuck in this kind of herd mentality of people who go out for coffees, guys that go out for coffees and talk about their mental health and do all these things. Oh, it's just some, just some rubbish. Let's just go down the pub and let's just throw our life away on gambling, or let's just go and do something. Like, you aren't cool. If you want to do that, by the way, then go and do it by all means. I just think that people who put others down for having a coping mechanism that isn't the same as theirs, for the sake of them wanting to look a certain way and impress a certain demographic of people, I just think it's embarrassing. I think it's embarrassing. If me going for a coffee with you, Dan, amounts to you making some sort of slur or some comment, why do you care? People aren't genuine because they've lost that art that I think we possess, in terms of being able to sit down and have a chat with someone and actually listen and talk. People have lost that because they're on the phone, because it's trendy to look a certain way. They don't want to smile in group photos because they want to look a certain way. Like, everyone's a narcissist, is what I'm starting to figure out about this world.
That's a crazy statement.
And by the way, that's a completely rubbish statement. I'm just saying it to emphasize my point. Not everyone is a narcissist, but nearly everyone in this world, bro, has a bigger ego than they're letting out. Almost everyone in this world is in their own character. And I think the reason that people aren't genuine is because they're stuck in that character. And that character is almost always forged by the opinions of other people. And I was reading a book today, and I actually recommended it to my boss, Dej, who I know will probably be listening. If you've made it this far, Dej, thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dej. So this is the book. It's called Let Them Theory. I've been reading this. I'm about a quarter of the way through, and it's a great book. And it was talking all about, in this chapter I've been reading, all about other people's opinions. And I want to start off by saying anyone who puts their face on the internet and talks about things where they could potentially be deemed outspoken or potentially be wrong in the eyes of other people, you should be commended. I think we do a good thing, Dan. But anyone who criticizes us, I can guarantee you they're not as brave as us. Like David Goggins said, you'll never meet a hater doing better than you, and that's a fact. So this whole genuine thing, a lot of it is shaped by other people's opinions. And what this book is talking about is literally just let them say what they want to say. Let them do what they want to do. Then it's about letting me, like we spoke about on other podcasts, and let me react and do my own thing. Bro, it's so important. So yeah, I think people are genuine because they're good people and they've been raised right, and it comes back down to your environment. But there's people that aren't genuine because they're in this character.
No, it's very true. And that character, like you say, is often shaped by other people's opinions. And that's shaped by ego. And underlying that is insecurity. I think genuine people are people who are happy with who they are and don't feel the need to need anything outside of that to give them gratification and validation about who they are. And that's not to say that those who aren't happy with who they are aren't genuine, because there's some people who are still finding themselves. But there's a genuine journey in that. I think it's people who, and sometimes there are people out there who feel like they need to put on a character because they're a bit, they don't really like who they are. And I think for those who are in that situation, I would say, as much as it's easy for someone to say to you, "Oh, back yourself and believe in yourself," sometimes it's very difficult. But just take small steps each day to unveiling who you want to be in this world. Because, like I always say, you won't want to be walking any other path other than your own. So, for those who are still discovering themselves, just like we are, yes, we've got this awareness, but a lot of us are still discovering ourselves. For everyone discovering themselves, just keep unveiling little steps at a time who you want to be in this world. And as time goes on, you'll be more confident in that person. Because if that's who you really want to be, that's who you should be acting on each day. And that's that intention of figuring out who that is and then portraying that to the world and sharing who that is to the world. Because I would love to live in a world where everyone I meet and everything I see is who people really want to be.
Yeah. And you know one thing I want to say, bro? People will always judge you, but they should never change you. Think people can say things that can change the way you think. They can change the way you look at things. But don't let people, what they say, change you as a person. Like I noticed it with a lot of what I do, Dan, especially football wise. Scared to say certain things, scared to have an opinion on certain things because I'm so worried about what someone's going to say. Now, I could not give a damn, mate. I don't care, because why should I? My life is too short to really care, And I think this podcast has been an interesting one because it's gone on longer than the normal podcast, but I feel like we've got a really good grasp, and I think there's been a lot of passion in this, And I think, like I say, now that I'm out here and now that I spend so much time on my own, I actually have had a lot of time to just sit down and think to myself about things. What do I want? Who do I want in my life? How am I going to achieve certain things? At the moment, I'm in a mindset of, okay, how am I going to consistently pay the bills, keep my job? How am I going to get better at my job? How am I going to prove to my bosses that I can make them proud and I can do what's good for the company and for me? And that again is down to your environment. So think about your environment. Like my teacher said when I was at infant school, pick your friends wisely. And that has stuck with me forever. It's so important, bro. And I'm grateful to have you here. I'm grateful to, even if it's just online or whatever, just grateful to have good friends, man. I'm grateful to have Deck. As much as sometimes I want to rip his head off, as much as he wants to rip off mine, because I know I was so grouchy last week. One thing I will say is if you've been in a mood and you take it out on people, because I do for sure, just apologize to them,
And
one
those
thing.
moments do pass as well. I was sat with my girlfriend on Saturday, and I was in a bit of a mood because I wanted to get um, our guest podcast out, but the Wi-Fi was a bit crap. But I decided just to be a little bit silent for a little minute, just let the moment pass, and I was back feeling better. But that also brings up that podcast. So if you haven't listened to that podcast, Mick Granson Smith, Making It Moments, Making It as a Football Coach, go and listen to that because it's a very good episode. He brings up a lot of really good, important things that we should all be, even if you're not trying to make it as a football coach, we should all be applying to ourselves. So go listen to that.
Absolutely. And I think a lot of what we talk about, Dan, is not that you have to follow the same course, but a lot of what we're saying, you can apply it to yourself. So definitely go and watch the episode. At some point in this, there was a random reminder from Dan going, stop right there. This is Making It Moments. So make sure that you do go and listen to Making It Moments. And again, if you've listened to this podcast all this way, thank you so much because we appreciate it. And actually, we want you to stick around and keep doing that. And if you want to join in, you want to talk about something you've wanted to talk about, if you're doing something that you're proud of, if you've just started something up, a business, a charity, an initiative, get in contact with us because we want to talk to you. We want to talk to people that are on a making it journey and want to get somewhere. We want to talk to you because we want to learn from you and we want to support you. So let us know what you're thinking. If you're on TikTok, keep doing your thing because it's been quiet lately. So get back, keep insulting me, say something.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, just have a fantastic week. We'll see you next Tuesday, every single Tuesday at 10 in the morning. That was the Making It Podcast, episode 42. I'm Jamie.
And I'm Dan. Take care of yourselves and love yourselves.